How do you fancy this ball? Be level at 1-1 with the great Shane van Boening. This will tell us a lot about how he might cope with this occasion. Powers it in. Now van Boening had the chance, missed the 6, left it for Jakupovic, and he's done the rest. So he is indeed level with the former world champion and 5-time US Open winner. It's 1-1. Georgi Georgiev, who became a ranking event winner last year, has safely negotiated his first match here. Beaten Sabri Manila Ali by 9 racks to 2. These are first round matches, remember. All the players who win in them will be in action again later in the day. Petri Macklin, also a ranking event winner last year, but 5-4 down to Suleiman Goloum of Kuwait. Tony Drago, former World Masters champion, is just starting table 15 against Alexander Janusovic. And Aydin Tikniach, Bosnia and Herzegovina's #2 behind Sanjim Televanovic, is just starting against Silvia Kristic, an all-home nation clash on table 11. Aloysius Yap now leading 6-2 against Saeed Vilic. Billy Thorpe now has a 7-4 lead over Jere Bertaranta. First look then at Jakupovic's break. Oh, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's not what you need against SVB. Here's another look. Yeah, he just had that opposite side onto the cue ball. That's why off the second rail it sort of spun down towards the corner. And if he gets the cue ball on the left, the cue ball goes to this rail, SVB will be out because all the balls just lay up. So kind. I think he can still get through to it, but he bounced it off a little firm. Just where the brown 7 is, Michael, he can just leave the cue ball anywhere, kind of where the green ball is, and just roll it into the centre pocket. Cue ball will travel down. And this is the appeal of 9-ball around the world. It's a fast cue sport, unlike a lot of the other cue sports that you can play in the game of pool. 9-ball pool, well, just seen in the previous match with Johan Chua, it is lightning quick.
Yeah, and the whole situation in a match can change in a heartbeat. Jakupovic made 2 balls off the break, but he scratched as well and then sat out the rest of the rack. So Shane van Boening leads once again at 2-1. Koping Han, I was telling you about, 7-1 up. Aldin Suman. Koping Han actually had a really good year last year. He was very consistent in the big events. He's won one of the smaller ranking events already in 2025. So how good can he be? There's obviously going to be expectation that he can get to that same sort of level as his brothers, but that's a lot of pressure to put on someone. So how good do you think he is?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we were a bit harsher. I'm not saying you was, but I was always sort of looking at him as the worst of the 3 brothers, weren't we? But I think that's purely down to how good and what the other 2 co-brothers have achieved. They've won World 9-ball titles, US Open titles, World Cups of pools, World Masters. They've won the big creme de la creme, haven't they? So the fact that Koping Han hasn't quite done that yet, that's why we kind of look at him as the lacquer of the 3. But listen, he's certainly got a couple of decent practice partners back home, hasn't he? So I'm sure his game can't fail to come along.
And as I said, he was very consistent last year in terms of making progress in the big events.
Yeah, and I think did he win something earlier on this year? Or was it the
Vietnam.
back end?
Vietnam, right at the start of this year.
That's right,
a world ranking event. Yeah, beat Michael Bowenin in the final, I believe.
Yeah, I'm sure he just needs to kind of tick off a little bucket list here, doesn't he? You know, one of these open events. You know, sometimes it's not a case of just getting in and winning one, but it could be something simple like get through to the final 16 for the first time when the arena changes to 3-4 tables, and obviously TV come in and we have the presenter, and it's just got a big different feel. It's got such a different feel to the event. So even if he can qualify to that kind of stage, you know, moving forward, playing in all the other open events, you know, you've done it. You've ticked it off, haven't you? It's like a little goal you've set yourself. First goal, obviously, here is to qualify for the final 64. If you're not aware, there's 256 players at the open events on the WNT. And think of it like making the cut at golf. It doesn't matter how you get there, Michael, does it? Just get your name in the hat for that draw, and then you'll have 32 players who have not lost a match and 32 players who've lost one match. They will play each other in the final 64, which will be single elim all the way through.
Meanwhile, back here, Shane van Boening, for the first time in this match, didn't make the one off the break. Did make another ball, and everything else fell very nicely for him. And it looks as though he's going to do the rest. His second break and run already in this match. This for a 3-1 lead. So it's a 2-rack lead for the 5-time US Open champion. He's been close to getting that record-breaking 6th in the past. He'll be having another go later this year.
We're back at the Harrah's Resort in Atlantic City for the US Open. It is one of
time now. That's as close as he's got to that 6th, which will put him out on his own, and his next attempt will be coming up in, well, around about 5 months from now. And he's certainly making a good start here to his campaign for the European Open. It's looking ominous already in rack 5 for Jakupovic. Certainly been pretty busy in recent weeks from Boening. He's been playing a lot of events in the US with a lot of success as well, and he's come here. A lot of matches under his belt over the last few weeks. Some players, I think, might struggle with that and get fatigued, but he's just constantly playing pool, because even when he's not playing, he just seems to be practicing all the time at events, so he's well used to being constantly on the table.
Yeah, he plays his best stuff when he's just living on the pool table, SVB. Quite a unique character. Obviously, we've got the Premier League pool coming up after the European Open, and SVB is the defending champion. And I remember last year, even in between his matches, we had a little break and all the other players would be sitting down having his dinner. He just went on the practice table. He was a man possessed for 8 days in that event.
Yeah, I remember the Premier League in 2022 in Milton Keynes. He just broke so well in that tournament. Didn't win it that year. The way he was breaking, really a foretaste. He was going to perform in that department back at the same venue only about 6 weeks later when he won the world title. So it's going to be another quick rack, and in very little time, Shane van Boening swept into a 4-1 lead here. Billy Thorpe on the hill now at 8-4 against Jere Vertaranta, and Ko Ping Han, who we were talking about, has got through. He's won 9-1 against Aldin Suman. You were talking, Carl, about how important it will be for Ko Ping Han to make the last 16 of one of these events for the first time, get to the weekend. He really knocked on the door so much last year, got to the last 32 of this event, then in the US Open, then in Hanoi. If you keep getting to all those last 32s, surely at some point you'll make that breakthrough and try to build from there. You'll see there on table 18, Scott Frost, very well known on the American scene, hasn't travelled much over the years, but he's here in Sarajevo to play, and he's won the opening rack against Sergio Lagunas Moreno. Scott, who of course is often a member of our commentary team, and I'm sure he'll be joining us in the booth later in the week, unless of course, Carl, he's too busy playing in the later rounds.
I'll keep his seat warm up here then, Michael. No, I'm only having a bit of banter with Scott. Been winding him up for the last couple of days. Keep asking if he's putting the table time in the practice area. Oh, he's just overdone the cue ball. That's why it's gone in that side pocket. Yeah, too much draw on the cue ball causes that. It does look like it sneaks past the pink 4 ball. That's what he's looking at. One shot, you can put the cue ball anywhere on the table.
Situations where he's 4-1 down, but doesn't exactly have a great deal to admonish himself about. Got his one chance in the second rack and took it, so for him to look at and question his ability to compete here. "47 players from Bosnia and Herzegovina in the draw, by far and away the biggest contingent of any country, and Boening, one of 11 Americans lined up. So not for the first time in this match, it's a scratch for Jakupovic, which denies him the opportunity to build.
Yeah, that will hurt. He had quite a big margin for error there.
Yeah, that changes things a bit, doesn't it? Because, okay, you can scratch off the break, but it's mid-rack like that. A bit more your own responsibility. It's as though he's just handed this one to Van Boening. Rare day you see a match where 6 racks are completed as quickly as this. 5 of them have gone the way of Shane van Boening. He leads 5-1.
You're getting a glimpse of how quickly the game can start to get away from you.
Tony Drago has won the first couple of racks against Alexander Janusevich. Aydin Pikniac in the first rack against Silvia Kristic. Pikniac, the second biggest hope, I think it's fair to say, for some home success this week, behind Sanjin Pelovanovic, who won his 2 matches yesterday. And Aloysius Yap on the hill now, 8-2 against Syed Vilic. Billy Thorpe still looking for one more. 8-4 up against Jere Virtaranta. So that was a big chance for Jakupovic. Could have got back to 4-2. Didn't happen for him. Van Boening now 5-1 up.
Well, that's what he can do. He lost a cue ball before, and he's made a ball or two, and just look where the balls have finished. He's actually made 3 balls on the break there.
Well, in my reckoning, Carl, from everything I've seen over the last few years, he seems to make multiple balls off the break more than any other player. Would that be fair, do you think?
Yeah, without doubt. That's because this particular break shot, he's not breaking at like a 75% power range. He's going all out on the break. A little bit like Eklund Catcher. He's another one.
Yeah, Catchy and Sanchez Ruiz, when he was at his peak, he was pretty adept at making multiple balls off the break, but I don't think anyone is in the league of Van Boening in that regard. Very swiftly, Boening is closing in on his 4th break and run already in this match. Well, in every possible sense, he's just racing away with this one now. Adko Jakupovic has not been back to the table since that scratch in the previous rack. 3 balls off the break. Van Boening did the rest from there. He now leads 6-1. I know you love these trivia questions I throw at you, Carl. What did Shane Van Boening do that nobody else did last year in these Matchroom big field events? So we're talking the Open events and the World Championship, which obviously has a very big field as well. There was something he did that nobody else did, and it was very impressive.
I want to say he qualified for every single elimination, or every...
He did that, but he did more than that.
He made last 16.
Very good, very good. He was the only player to make the last 16, i.e. the last couple of days, of all of the Matchroom big field events last year.
I was actually initially going to say he played in them all.
No. Plenty who did that.
Well, that shows you the calibre of what SVB has got and what we are watching. It's another in-off though, and the 9 ball's going to go in. So the 9 ball will spot, and it will be ball in hand. Of course, if the cue ball had not have gone in the pocket, SVB would have won the rack with what we call a golden break.
So the scratch off the break in rack 3 was one thing, but scratch when he was very much in play a couple of racks ago, that was more down to Jakupovic himself. So now he's got a mistake of his own that he has to show some sort of response to. Indications are it's not a good one. You see this so often, the inexperienced player coming out onto the main table, and the first thing they do wrong, it seems to throw them completely.
Yeah, this is just a carbon copy of the first match of the day that we've already seen.
Yeah, as I said, he was in the last 16 of all the Matchroom big field events last year, but that tended to be where he went out. lost at that stage of the UK Open to Kachi, the World Championship to Wojciech Szewczyk, and also in Hanoi to Harry Vergara, who had come from nowhere to end up making the quarterfinals that week. But in between, of course, he did have a couple of extended runs. Semi-finals of this tournament for the 3rd year in a row, lost at that stage to Johan Chua. And his best run in one of the Matchroom Big Field events last year, that US Open final that he lost to Fedor Gorst. He did win a Matchroom title last year, of course, Premier League, which he'll be defending right here in Sarajevo next week. This is starting to turn into a bit of a landslide. Shane Van Boening looking very, very sharp here, very clinical, showing no mercy at all to his much less experienced opponent. He's already just a couple of racks away from the next round. He leads 7-1. What did you make of Van Boening at the Mosconi, Carl? Because it's something we talk about a lot. He's only been on the winning team 3 times, even though he's played in more Mosconis than any other player in history. So he's had a lot of disappointing weeks in it. But really, in Orlando just before Christmas, that was perhaps his worst Mosconi ever.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Shane in the Mosconi Cup, he's just not himself, is he? It's just not what we used to see at these individual tournaments, and I think it can only be put down to years and years of, you know, not winning the cup. And it's just his mannerisms, just the way he is with the team, and he's, you know, he's sat in the arena, and he just doesn't look like he's fully up for it. Just a very bizarre week for Shane. Obviously, he's played in a lot of Mosconi Cups. You would think he'd have performed in, you know, sort of more than half of them, you know, to a good quality. So it's just weird, just real strange. Can't really put my finger on it.
Well, he was the only player on either team who didn't win a point outside of the team matches in the Mosconi of 2024. But it wasn't just that he was losing the matches, he was losing them heavily. His doubles matches, he lost them 5-2 and 5-1, and his only singles was against FSR. He lost that 5-1 as well. Do you think various captains have tried over the years to integrate him more into the team, make him more part of the sort of general atmosphere?
Yeah, I think Johan Wojcik, he seemed to get the best out of Shane. He's the most successful, you know, captain for Europe and America. Everyone else seems to not really helped him, but I don't know. Listen, obviously he can qualify for the team, can he, in his own right, but maybe it's time to stick one of the younger players in. What's he played in now? 20, is it?
No, it's 18.
18, yeah. So, you know, he's had enough chances. But it's hard to leave him out, isn't it, at the same time? It's just a strange one.
Do you think maybe it should be a case of saying to him, look, don't try to be part of the team. Don't join in all the hijinks and the shouting and the whooping and cheering in the arena. Just be your own man, do your own thing, keep to yourself, and maybe that will work. I mean, put it this way, it can't go any worse than it did from last year.
Maybe, but I suppose, you know, when he's at the table, you know, let's say he's playing his match, does the other lads just stay in the chair, don't even bother going up into the arena? And like you said, maybe you don't just talk to Shane about it, maybe tell the other lads, listen, even when you're playing your match, if Shane wants to sit in the sofa, don't worry about it. He wants you to win. Just don't want to keep coming up high-fiving you. I don't know.
It's got to be worth a shot, given the run of poor Mosconis he's had. But this certainly isn't poor, is it? That's his 5th break and run already in the contest. In no time at all, he's made it to the hill at 8-1. Anyway, the enigma, the riddle of Shane Van Boening in the Mosconi Cup. Sure, he's something we'll talk about again as the year goes on. Our buddy Scott Frost has got another one on the board. 2-0 up now against Sergio Lagunas Moreno. Petri Mäkinen, UK Open semi-finalist last year. just ahead of Suleiman Gulum at 6-5 now. Nikos Economopoulos, who's a former Mosconi player, is on the hill at 8-7 against Selman Muric. Tony Drago possibly heading for a whitewashed victory, 6-0 against Alexander Janusovic. Aydin Pikniak, one of the leading home hopes, has won the first couple of racks against his compatriot Silvia Kristic. Aloysius Yap, the world number 4, has won 9-2 against Saeed Vilic. Back here, Van Boening just looking for one more. Just one other score to mention. Joshua Filler was never able to win the European Open when it was played in his home country. He started his campaign here in Sarajevo by winning the opening rack against the British player Danny King. And Billy Thorpe, part of that US Mosconi team as well in Orlando just before Christmas, has won 9-5 over Finland's Jere Virtaranta.
Yeah, that's a good shot from Shane. Just get this one right. The right could be on the wall. Well, he's missed it by somewhat. Kind of nowhere at all. I mean, it wasn't that difficult. Just decelerated on the push through with the cue.
Van Boening, that'll be the thing he'll be thinking about when the match is over. The surprise miss he had on the 3-ball. Never mind the 5 breaking runs that went before it.
Yeah, whenever you get a chance to close the match out, that last rack, you want to get the job done. You still might get another opportunity because this is not ideal at all. Yeah, not bad. Pretty good effort, I think. As long as he stopped the bank shot, Shane can get through to it. He might be able to squeeze it in. Yeah, something tells you he's not going to mess this chance up.
Yeah, Jakupovic, I guess, would have been coming into it, hoping to have at least one special moment to take away from it, and he did have that when he was briefly level at 1-1. But Van Boening has been so dominant from start to finish. This is just about as short a match as you'll ever see in one of these tournaments. Shane Van Boening, with 5 breaking runs along the way, has defeated Adko Jakupovic by 9 racks to 1. He did so well in this European Open when it was played in Fulda for those 3 years, and it looks as though he's carried that